Nearly 80 people across 7 states have gotten sick. So far, 21 people have been hospitalized and no deaths have been reported.
The most expensive eggs in this test were 3 weeks old the day they were bought. $7.99 a dozen, and they scored below a carton costing $2.49. 7 stores, same city, same week, measured with the instrument the egg industry uses to grade its own product. 4 of the 7 had already dropped below grade AA before anyone got them home. There is a number stamped on every carton in America that tells you exactly how old the eggs are. Almost nobody knows how to read it. You will, in about 4 seconds, standing in the aisle. Number 7, Whole Foods. $7.99 a dozen, the most expensive carton in this test by more than $2. Every carton in this test was bought the same day and cracked open within 6 hours, 6 eggs measured per carton. The Julian date on the carton read 174. The purchase happened on day 195, 21 days from pack to purchase, 3 weeks old before it entered the cart. That is the single worst pack-to-shelf figure in this entire test, on the single most expensive carton. The Haugh unit came back at 63, and that number is the one that matters most in this video. It measures the height of the thick albumin against the weight of the egg, and it is what USDA graders use to assign a grade. Grade AA requires 72 or higher. Grade A runs 60 to 71. Below 60 is grade B, 63 is grade A territory. On a carton, the label still described as grade AA. 63 means the thick white has already flattened measurably against where it started on packing day. You see that in the pan before you see it anywhere else. The white spreads instead of holding around the yolk. Grade AA is assigned at the moment of packing. Nothing on the carton updates when the eggs stop meeting that standard, so the label was accurate on day 1 and misleading by day 21, and both of those things are legal. Yolk color scored an 11 on the fan chart, which was genuinely good and is worth saying clearly. Here is what yolk color actually tells you, though, because it is the thing shoppers trust most and understand least. Deep orange yolks come from carotenoids in the feed. Marigold extract and paprika are commonly added specifically to produce that color. It is a real indicator of what the hen ate. It is not an indicator of freshness, nutrition, or how the hen lived. A 3-week-old egg and a 3-day-old egg from the same flock have identical yolk color, which means the visual cue most shoppers rely on to judge an egg tells them nothing about the thing they are judging. A pale yolk from a 5-day-old egg is a better egg than a deep orange yolk from a 21-day-old one. Shell strength was measured as the force required to crack the shell at the equator on a calibrated gauge. This carton landed mid-pack, nothing remarkable in either direction. Cost per 100 grams of protein came out to $2.11, the highest in the test by a wide margin. That figure is worth explaining because it is the only price measurement that compares cartons fairly. A dozen large eggs contains roughly 72 grams of protein regardless of which store sold them. So the protein is a constant, the price is the only variable, and here it ran 3 times the cheapest carton. The premium here is real, and it buys real things: certified humane standards, verified feed sourcing, and supply chain auditing. What it did not buy on this particular day was a fresh egg, and that is the gap worth understanding. Price signals ethics and sourcing in this aisle. It does not signal how long the carton has been sitting. Those are 2 entirely separate questions, and the price tag only answers one of them. If sourcing standards are what you are buying, this carton delivers that, and the premium is defensible. If you assumed freshness came bundled with the price, this test says plainly that it does not. Straight ahead, a store whose eggs measured almost identically and cost less than half as much, which raises a fair question about what that extra $4 was actually buying. Number 6, Target $3.49 for the Good & Gather. Large white dozen, Julian, date 179, purchase day 195, 16 days from pack to cart. Those 3 digits are the day of the year the eggs were packed. 001 is January 1st, 365 is December 31st. It is printed on every USDA-graded carton in the country, and it is the only honest freshness number on the package. Haugh Unit 65, 2 points better than the $7.99 carton and $4.50 cheaper. Those 2 cartons sat 2 points apart on the only measurement that describes freshness, separated by a 56% price difference. That comparison is the reason this investigation exists, and we are only 2 entries in. Both cartons carried Grade A large white eggs from USDA-inspected facilities. Both met every federal standard on the day they were packed. The difference is entirely in how long they sat afterward. Yolk color was scored against the standard 15-point industry fan chart. This carton scored a 7, noticeably paler than Whole Foods, which reflects a different feed formulation and nothing else. Shell strength was the weakest in the entire test, and this one has a practical consequence you will notice. 3 of the 6 test eggs cracked below the force threshold that the other cartons cleared. Weak shells are a storage problem more than a cooking problem. They fail in transport and in the door of the refrigerator. A cracked shell is also a food safety issue because the membrane underneath is the only barrier left against bacteria. Any egg that arrives home cracked should be used the same day or discarded, rather than returned to the fridge. Shell thickness is driven mostly by hen age and dietary calcium. Older flocks lay thinner shells as a matter of biology. A carton with consistently thin shells suggests eggs from an older flock, which is a supply decision rather than a quality failure. Cost per 100 grams of protein landed at 92 cents, which is mid-pack and reasonable. Target's problem in this test was not price, and it was not the eggs themselves. 16 days from pack to shelf is a distribution and turnover issue, and it is the same issue that put the last carton in last place. If Target moved eggs faster, this carton would have ranked considerably higher on identical product. Worth noting that Target stocks eggs in a general grocery section rather than a dedicated high-turnover cold aisle. Store layout and category priority decide how fast a perishable moves, and eggs are not a destination item at Target. People go to Target for other things and buy eggs incidentally, which is exactly the traffic pattern that ages a carton. Subscribe now, because the 2 stores at the top of this list solved the problem Walmart has, and neither of them is the one you would guess. Coming up, the store most people assume is cheapest, and the number stamped on its carton that changes the calculation entirely. Number 5. Walmart. $2.49 for the great value, large, white, dozen. The cheapest carton in this test, Julian, date 181. Purchased day 195, 14 days from pack to cart. Haugh Unit 68, solidly Grade A, 4 points off the Grade AA threshold, and the best result of any carton so far. A $2.49 carton outperformed a $7.99 carton by 5 Haugh units. 5 points is not a rounding error. It is the difference between an egg that holds its shape in a pan and one that spreads. If you have ever fried an egg that ran flat across the pan and blamed the pan, that was the Haugh unit. Thick albumin holds the yolk up and keeps the white compact. As eggs age, the albumin thins and the whole thing spreads. Yolk color scored a 6, the palest in the test, which again reflects feed rather than quality. Shell strength was solid and consistent across all 6 test eggs with no outliers. Consistency within a single carton matters more than most people realize. A carton with 1 weak egg out of 12 suggests mixed flock sourcing, which shows up as unpredictable results in your kitchen. Cost per 100 grams of protein came to 66 cents, second cheapest in the test. Every price in this video is calculated that way, so cartons compare honestly across different egg sizes. A dozen large eggs carries roughly 72 grams of protein regardless of the label on the box. That measurement matters because cartons vary in egg size and a per dozen price hides it. Protein per dozen is close to constant across large eggs, so cost per gram is the only fair comparison between stores. Now here is what keeps Walmart at number 5 despite the strongest numbers so far. A second carton was purchased at a different Walmart location in the same city on the same afternoon. That carton carried Julian date 168, 27 days from pack to shelf. Same chain, same city, same day, 13 days of difference between two stores. The Haugh unit on the second carton measured 59, which falls below grade A entirely. That inconsistency is the finding. The Walmart carton you pick up is a coin flip, depending on which store and which shipment. It also means the fix is entirely in your hands and it takes 4 seconds. Read the Julian date before you buy. A Walmart carton under 10 days old outperformed every premium carton in this test. The date is printed in small black type on the short end of the carton, next to a P followed by 4 digits. That P number is the plant code identifying which facility packed them. The 3 digits beside it are the day. Have you ever assumed the expensive option had to be the fresher one? Drop it in the comments because that assumption is the entire subject of this video. What comes after this is a chain where the eggs were fine and the labeling raised a question worth answering. Number 4, Kroger, $2.99 for the Kroger brand, large white dozen. Julian, date 184. Purchased day 195. 11 days from pack to cart, the best figure so far in this test. Haugh unit 70, 2 points below the grade AA threshold and the strongest result to this point. Yolk color 8, shell strength above average, and no outliers across the 6 test eggs. 6 eggs from every carton were measured on a level glass plate with a tripod micrometer and the results averaged. Averaging matters because a single, unusually fresh egg can misrepresent an entire carton. On the measurements alone, this carton was solid in every category and remarkable in none. So here is the thing worth discussing in this section because it applies to every carton in this video. The producer name printed in small text on the side of the Kroger carton also appears on cartons at 2 other chains in this test. That is not a scandal. It is how the egg industry is structured, and understanding it changes how you shop. A small number of large producers supply eggs to many different retailers, packed under each retailer's own label. Cal-Maine Foods, a publicly traded company, is the largest egg producer in the United States and supplies numerous major retail brands. The eggs inside 2 differently priced cartons at 2 different stores are sometimes from the same farms and the same flocks. What actually differs between those cartons is the pack date, the storage handling, and how fast that store moves inventory, which reframes the entire aisle once you see it. You are not usually choosing between farms, you are choosing between distribution speeds, wearing different labels, which means the thing you are paying a premium for is often not the egg. It is the label, the certification, and the store's overhead. On this carton, at this price, with 11 days from pack to shelf, Kroger delivered exactly what it charged for. Kroger also stocks eggs in a dedicated refrigerated aisle with high visibility, which supports faster turnover. That is a merchandising decision rather than a sourcing one, and it showed up as 11 days instead of 16. Cost per 100 grams of protein came to 79 cents, which is fair for the result. There is one more label worth decoding here because it drives a lot of purchasing decisions. Cage-free means hens are not in cages. It does not mean outdoor access, and the required space per bird is roughly 1 square foot. Free range requires outdoor access. but the regulation does not specify how much space, for how long, or what the outdoor area contains. Both terms describe real differences from conventional housing. Neither describes what most shoppers picture when they read them. Hit the like button if you have ever paid more for a store brand assuming it came from a different farm than the cheaper one. Just ahead, a store with a devoted following and one measurement that came in well below what its reputation would suggest. Number 3, Trader Joe's, $3.29 for the large brown dozen, and brown is worth addressing immediately. Brown eggs come from brown feathered hens. That is the entire difference. Nutritionally, they are identical to white eggs. Brown hens are typically larger birds that eat more feed, which is why brown eggs usually cost more to produce. You are paying for the hen's appetite, not for anything inside the shell. Julian, date 187, purchased day 195. 8 days from pack to cart. 8 days is a genuinely good number, and it is the second best pack-to-shelf figure in this test, Haugh Unit 74. That clears the grade AA threshold, and it is the first carton in this ranking to do so. At 74, the albumin still stands up in a pan rather than running flat, which is what that number physically describes. Trader Joe's runs a limited selection model similar to Aldi, and the 8-day pack date reflects that. Fewer items on the shelf means each item sells through faster, and eggs benefit from that more than almost anything else in the store. Yolk color scored a 12, the deepest in the test, reflecting a feed formulation with higher carotenoid content. Then shell strength came in, and it is the reason this carton sits at 3 rather than higher. The measured breaking force was the second weakest in the test, only marginally better than target. Shell strength here was measured as the force required to crack the shell at its equator with a calibrated gauge. 6 eggs per carton averaged on every store in this video. 2 of the 6 test eggs cracked under handling before formal measurement, which happened with no other carton except Target's. Brown eggshells are not inherently weaker than white ones. Shell thickness tracks flock age and calcium, not shell color. What this indicates is an older flock, which is a sourcing decision that shows up in your carton as breakage. Cost per 100 grams of protein came to 87 cents, which is reasonable for a grade AA result. Worth stating plainly that this is 1 week, 1 city, and 1 carton per store. Egg supply rotates constantly, and a different week could produce a different order at the top. What does not change is the method, and it works on any carton in any store on any day. The honest summary is a genuinely fresh egg in a shell that will not survive the ride home in a full grocery bag. Carry this carton on top. That is not a joke. 2 of 6 cracked before they reached a countertop. There is a simple check for shell strength you can do without any instrument at all. Open the carton in the store and press gently on the center of each egg with 1 fingertip. A sound shell has no give whatsoever. Any flex at all means a thin shell that will fail in a bag or a fridge door. Which of these 7 stores do you actually buy your eggs from? Drop the store in the comments, because the top 2 are going to change some minds. Up next, the store that costs less than almost everything on this list and beat cartons at triple its price on the only measurement that matters. Number 2, Aldi. $2.69 for the Gold Hen large white dozen. 20 cents more than the cheapest carton in this test. Julian, date 190, purchased day 195. 5 days from pack to cart. 5 days. The best pack-to-shell figure in this entire investigation, on a carton costing $2.69. Set that against the $7.99 carton at 21 days and the whole premium assumption collapses. Haugh Unit 78. Comfortably, grade AA 6 points clear of the threshold, and 15 points above the Whole Foods carton. 15 Haugh units for $5.30 less per dozen. 15 points is the distance between a solid grade AA egg and one that has dropped to full grade. The cheaper carton was not marginally fresher, it was in a different grade category at the moment of purchase. The mechanism behind that number is not a secret, and it is not about the eggs. Aldi carries a deliberately limited product range, which means far fewer items competing for shelf space and cold storage. Fewer products with higher turnover per item means inventory moves faster, and perishables sit for less time before they sell. That structural decision shows up in your carton as a pack date 5 days old instead of 21. Yolk color scored a 7, pale and unremarkable, driven by a standard commodity feed formulation. Shell strength measured the strongest in the entire test, with 0 breakage across 6 eggs under handling and measurement. 0 breakage across a full sample is uncommon, and it points at a younger flock with adequate dietary calcium. Cost per 100 grams of protein came to 71 cents. For a household buying 2 dozen eggs a week, the gap between this carton and the most expensive one is meaningful. $5.30 a dozen across 2 dozen weekly comes to roughly $550 a year. That is the annual cost of the assumption that the expensive carton must be the better one. So this carton delivered the freshest result, the strongest shells, and the second lowest cost per gram of protein. The only measurement where it finished mid-pack was yolk color, which is the one measurement that describes feed rather than quality. There is one caveat that keeps this out of first place, and it is the same caveat that hurt Walmart. Aldi's egg supply varies by region and by week, more than a national chain with centralized distribution. A 5-day carton in one market can be a 12-day carton in another, which makes reading the date essential rather than optional here. That is worth weighing against the result, because a 12-day Aldi carton is an ordinary carton. The number on this one was excellent. The number on yours is the one that decides it. What is the cheapest dozen you have found that actually held up? Drop the store and the price in the comments. One store left, and it solved the consistency problem that every single carton above it failed on. Number 1, Costco sells eggs in a 2 dozen pack, which changes the math and is the first thing to account for honestly. $5.49 for 24 eggs works out to $2.75 per dozen. Julian, date 191, purchased day 195. 4 days from pack to cart, the best figure in this test. Haugh unit 79, the highest freshness measurement of any carton tested, 1 point above Aldi. Shell strength was second only to Aldi, with no breakage across the sample. Yolk color scored a 9 mid-pack and consistent across every egg measured. Consistency within the carton was the tightest of any tested, with under 2 Haugh units separating the best egg from the worst. That tight spread suggests a single flock and a single pack run rather than mixed sourcing. Cost per 100 grams of protein came to 68 cents, within 2 cents of the cheapest carton in the test. On raw numbers, Costco and Aldi are close enough that the gap is inside normal variation between cartons. So the reason Costco takes first is not the measurement, it is what happened when the test was repeated. 3 additional 2 dozen packs were purchased from 3 different Costco locations over the following 2 weeks. Pack dates on those 3 came back at 3 days, 5 days and 4 days from packing. Every one of them measured a Haugh unit above 75. Not one fell below the grade AA threshold. Compare that to Walmart, where 2 cartons from the same city on the same afternoon were 13 days apart. Consistency is the entire finding here, and it comes from a structural decision rather than a better egg. 4 purchases across 3 locations over 2 weeks, and the spread between best and worst was 2 days. At Walmart, the spread between 2 stores on one afternoon was 13 days. That is the whole comparison. Costco carries roughly 4,000 product lines against 30,000 or more at a conventional supermarket. Selling enormous volume across a small number of items means perishables turn over before they can age on a shelf. The eggs themselves are commodity eggs from the same industry, supplying most of the cartons in this test. What Costco sells is turnover, and in the egg aisle, turnover is the product. That principle transfers to every perishable in the store, and it is the most useful thing in this video. A store with fewer items and higher volume per item will nearly always have fresher perishables than a store with enormous selection. It is not about quality standards or sourcing ethics. It is about how many days a product sits between the truck and your cart. The trade-offs are real and worth stating. You need a membership, and you are buying 24 eggs whether you need them or not. For a household of 1 or 2, half of that pack may age past its best window before it gets used. In that situation, an Aldi dozen with a 5-day pack date is the better purchase, and this test says so plainly. For a household that will use 24 eggs inside 3 weeks, this was the most reliable carton in the investigation. One more note on storage, because it affects every carton in this video after you get it home. Eggs stored in the main body of the refrigerator hold their Haugh unit measurably longer than eggs stored in the door. The door swings through temperature changes every time it opens. The carton was designed to sit on a shelf, not in a rack. 7 stores, 1 city, 1 week. Worst, Whole Foods. $7.99 a dozen, 21 days from pack to shelf, and a Haugh unit of 63. Best value, Aldi. $2.69 a dozen, 5 days old, the strongest shells in the test, and a Haugh unit of 78. Best overall, Costco. $2.75 per dozen equivalent, 4 days old, 79 Haugh units, and consistent across 4 separate purchases. The most expensive carton finished last. The 2 cheapest finished first and second. Here is the part that outlives this ranking, and it is the only thing you actually need. Find the Julian date on the side of the carton. 3 digits, day of the year, printed near the plant number. Under 7 days from today is excellent. 7 to 14 is fine. Past 21 and you are buying an egg that has already lost a grade. That check takes 4 seconds and works at every store in this video, regardless of what the price tag says. It also works at stores that were not in this test, which is the part that outlasts any ranking. The order above describes 1 week in 1 city with 1 carton per store. Egg supply rotates constantly, and a different week could reshuffle the middle of this list entirely. What will not change is the number. The Julian date describes the carton in your hand today. Learn the number, and you never need a ranking again. Hey, thanks for watching. Check the Julian date on the carton in your fridge right now, and drop the number in the comments. Want to see the same test run on milk across the same 7 stores? Click on the left. I will see you there.